As the ship drifted closer to the shores of Roanoke Island, the air grew heavy with an unnatural stillness. John White, the colony's governor, stood at the bow, his eyes scanning the tree line where he had once left over 100 souls. But now, nothing stirred. The familiar sounds of life, the chatter of families, the laughter of children, the clatter of tools, all had been replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to swallow the very wind. When his boots finally touched the sand, the sense of dread deepened. The settlement was deserted. Houses stood half-built, tools abandoned where they had been dropped, as though the colonists had simply vanished in the middle of their work. The air was thick with the weight of something unseen, something watching from the shadows beyond the trees. White's heart pounded in his chest as he led the search through the empty village. His mind raced with possibilities. Were they attacked? Had they fled? As they combed through the remnants of the settlement, his eyes landed on a single haunting mark, the word CROATOAN, crudely carved into a tree trunk. It was the only clue left behind, but what did it mean? A cold shiver crawled down his spine as he looked around. The word seemed less like a message and more like a warning. What had driven them to leave without a trace? The question gnawed at him as the sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched across the abandoned land. White could feel it, an oppressive presence, lurking just beyond the clearing where the dense woods began. Eyes. There were eyes in the darkness, watching, waiting. He had come searching for answers, but as the light faded, he realized something far more terrifying. Whatever had claimed these settlers was still here, hidden in the silence, in the shadows, watching his every move. This is the vanishing of the Roanoke colony, a forgotten mystery indeed. In 1587, more than 100 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina, with hopes of starting a new life in the New World. Led by Governor John White, these pioneers established what would become one of history's greatest mysteries, the lost colony of Roanoke. After leaving the settlers to return to England for supplies, White came back to find the entire colony had disappeared without a trace. What happened to these men, women, and children remains one of the most chilling and mysterious stories in American history. The English settlers, led by White, arrived at Roanoke with high hopes of establishing a permanent colony. They were a mix of farmers, craftsmen, soldiers, and families, all eager to carve out a life in the New World. However, from the outset, the colonists faced numerous challenges. Supplies quickly dwindled, and tensions with the local Native American tribes grew. As the situation became increasingly dire, White made the difficult decision to sail back to England for supplies, leaving behind the settlers, including his daughter Eleanor and his newborn granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. John White had intended to return to Roanoke within months, but a series of unfortunate events prevented him from making the journey. England became embroiled in a war with Spain, and all available ships were commandeered to defend the nation from the Spanish Armada. White's return was delayed by nearly 3 years, and when he finally arrived back at Roanoke in 1590, what he found was nothing short of eerie. The settlement was completely deserted. The buildings had been dismantled, not in a hurry, but with a sense of purpose, as though the settlers had carefully packed up and left. There was no sign of violence or struggle, no bodies, and no indication of where the colonists had gone. The only clue left behind was the word CROATOAN carved into a tree, and the letters CRO etched into a nearby post. White had instructed the settlers to leave a sign if they were forced to relocate, especially if they were in distress. But there was no cross or other mark indicating they had been in danger. Over the centuries, many theories have emerged about the fate of the Roanoke colonists, each one more perplexing than the last. Some believe the settlers tried to integrate with the local CROATOAN tribe, who lived on a nearby island, but no conclusive evidence has been found to support this theory. Others speculate that the settlers were attacked by hostile tribes, or even by Spanish soldiers who were in the region at the time. But again, there is no physical evidence to back up these claims. One of the most popular theories is that the settlers succumbed to starvation and illness, abandoning the colony in search of food. The lush forests around Roanoke Island could not provide enough sustenance for such a large group, and the harsh winters would have made survival difficult. However, this theory also lacks concrete evidence. There are even more outlandish theories, suggesting that the colony was the victim of supernatural forces. Some legends speak of the settlers being lured away by mysterious lights in the sky, or disappearing into the dense, misty forests that surround Roanoke. These stories, while far-fetched, highlight the sense of dread that has surrounded the colony's disappearance for generations. Despite numerous expeditions, archaeological digs, and historical investigations, the fate of the Roanoke colonists remains one of the most enduring mysteries of early American history. The word CROATOAN has become synonymous with mystery, evoking the haunting sense that these people vanished without a trace, leaving only a cryptic clue behind. Recent DNA testing and archaeological finds have provided some hope of answers, with evidence suggesting that some of the colonists may have integrated with nearby native tribes. Pottery and tools found on Hatteras Island, once home to the CROATOANs, suggest that there may have been some contact between the two groups. But even these discoveries have raised more questions than answers. The mystery of Roanoke has captured the imagination of historians, writers, and the public for centuries. It's been the subject of countless books, documentaries, and even horror stories, as the idea of an entire colony simply vanishing without a trace continues to baffle and intrigue. As the years pass and new technologies emerge, the hope remains that one day, the truth of what happened to the settlers of Roanoke will be uncovered. Until then, it remains a forgotten mystery, lurking in the shadows of history, its secrets still buried in the soil of the New World. The vanishing of the Roanoke colony stands as one of the most puzzling and eerie disappearances in history. Was it starvation, illness, or something far more sinister that led to the colony's fate? We may never know. But the story of the lost colony continues to haunt, serving as a reminder that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved.